You miss one step in your routine and suddenly your brain goes, that was terrible. I probably just ruined the whole heat. The judges definitely saw that. Why do I always mess things up? Nothing actually catastrophic happened, but in your mind, the entire competition just fell apart. That's not reality. That's catastrophizing. And if you don't learn how to catch it, it will quietly chip away at your confidence, your performance, and your joy for dancing. Hey, it's your pal, the Dancing Housewife, and welcome to another episode of the Dancing Housewife podcast, where we talk about everything you ever wanted to know about the art, heart, sport, and science of ballroom dance, but we're afraid to ask, or maybe not, because today is Monthly Mailbag, in which I answer real questions submitted by you, listeners. Today, we're diving into a topic I know so many of you are going to relate to, so let's get started. Dear Housewife, this is a mental performance question related to ballroom dance. I compete pro-am, and every time I make a mistake on the dance floor, I rerun it over and over and over in my head until I work myself into a literal frenzy. What's worse is I don't just replay things. I blow them way out of proportion, and it's worse at night, just before bed. I know mistakes are part of learning, and everyone makes them, but in the heat of the moment, I can't seem to control how I react to them. I need help figuring out how to keep everything in perspective so I can enjoy competing. First of all, this is such an honest question, and if you're feeling this way, please know you are absolutely not alone. What you're describing has a name. It's called catastrophizing, and once you understand it, you can start to take your power back. Catastrophizing is a cognitive distortion. Basically, it's a thinking error. It's when your brain takes something small, like a misstep, a timing issue, a moment of imbalance, forgotten choreography, and turns it into, that was a disaster. That heat was ruined. Everyone noticed. This always happens to me. But here's the truth. It feels real, but it's not accurate. Your brain is exaggerating the situation. Ballroom dancers, professional and amateurs alike, are incredibly prone to catastrophizing. Why? Because we perform under pressure, we're judged in real time, and so mistakes feel really visible. And then, of course, there's an emotional investment. We care deeply about what we're doing. On top of that, in pro-am, there's often an added layer of wanting to do well for your pro, not wanting to mess up the partnership, feeling like every mistake reflects on you. So your brain starts linking mistakes to things it perceives as threats. Threats like embarrassment, disappointment, fear of not being good enough. And it goes into overdrive trying to protect you. But instead, it really is just creating mental chaos. This doesn't just stay in your head either. It shows up everywhere. Catastrophizing spikes anxiety, which causes a tight body, shallow breathing, racing thoughts. It kills your presence so that you're no longer dancing in the moment and you're replaying the past or worrying about the next mistake. It creates hesitation. So instead of dancing fully, you start thinking, don't mess up, don't get off time, don't fall. You start being cautious. And you can't dance freely when you're trying not to fail. It destroys confidence because now every small mistake becomes a big deal and confirms that something is wrong. Now I want to speak specifically to those of you doing show dance because catastrophizing shows up in a really powerful way with lifts and tricks. Say you're about to go into a lift. And your brain goes, what if I slip? What if I fall? What if something goes wrong and I get hurt? And suddenly, you've created a full mental highlight reel of worst-case scenarios. Predicting a calamity is also catastrophizing. And let's be clear, fear isn't the problem because fear is information. It says, this matters, be sharp. But catastrophizing says, this is going to go terribly wrong. And here's what happens next. You hesitate. You don't fully commit, your body gets tight, and ironically, that's what actually increases risk when you're doing tricks and lifts. In show dance especially, half commitment is where danger lives. Now let's talk about what you said about bedtime, because this is huge. You lie down and your brain replays that misstep, that off-timing moment, forgotten choreography, that one imperfect figure, over and over and over, and each time it gets bigger, more dramatic, more emotional, until now it feels like that was awful. Oh my gosh, how did I let that happen? When in reality, it was probably a tiny moment in an otherwise solid performance. This is what your brain does when it's unchecked. It rewrites the story. Now, here's the truth you need to anchor into. One mistake does not define your dancing. One moment does not define an entire heat. And one competition does not define your progress. And more importantly, most people didn't even notice what you're obsessing over. Judges are looking at overall movement, quality, presentation, consistency. Other dancers are worried about whether or not they have enough time to go to the bathroom before their next heat. No one is replaying your one misstep the way you are. Here's how you start taking control of all of this. I call it the 3 C's method of reframing these kinds of thought patterns. Step 1, catch it. Ask yourself, why do I feel like this? What am I telling myself right now? Listen for extremes in your self-talk. Words like always, never, ruined, terrible. Those are your clues. Number 2, challenge it. Say to yourself, this is catastrophizing. This is a thought pattern. This is not true. Then ask, what actually happened? What's the most likely reality? Have I handled this before? Step 3, change it. Replace those catastrophizing thoughts with something useful and grounded. Something like, that was one moment, keep going. Reset, next step, stay present, whatever your verbal anchors are. Be short, direct, and actionable. The 3 C's method works great after you're off the dance floor. But you might need the in-moment strategy for when you're on the dance floor. So when it happens mid-dance, number 1, name it quickly. That's catastrophizing. Number 2, return to your body, breathe. Relax, reconnect to your frame. And number 3, give your brain a job. Stretch, breathe, move, music. Because you can't think 2 thoughts at once, so choose one that helps your dancing, not hurts you. You also need a cutoff ritual for letting go after competition, because if you don't close the loop, your brain will keep it open all night. Try this. Write down 2 things you did well. Write down 1 or 2 things you need to improve. Create an intention for the next day, and then say, I'm done for today, not I'll keep analyzing this forever. Catastrophizing is going to happen, especially in a sport like ballroom dance where so much is visible, emotional, and personal. But mentally strong dancers, they don't believe every thought they have. They recognize it, they ground themselves, and they choose how to respond. And that is what allows you to keep your confidence, your perspective, and your joy. If this episode hit home for you, click like, drop a comment, share it with a fellow dancer, and don't forget to subscribe and follow me on social media so you never miss a ballroom tip. And if you have a question you'd like me to answer, send it my way. You just might get featured in the next monthly mailbag episode. This is the Dancing Housewife signing off, and until next time, happy dancing!